This is episode 14 of Filming in Thailand, welcoming Nicholas Simon. Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Be quiet on set. Okay.
Chero Documentary presents Filming in Thailand, a podcast for movie lovers with exclusive stories from behind the scenes.
Rolling sound.
Sound rolling.
And action.
How are the cookies?
Hi, I'm your host Stéphane Lambert, and this is a new episode of Filming in Thailand.
And here we are. This is a new episode of Filming in Thailand with our guest today, Nicholas Simon. So welcome and thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Wow, we stop here. It doesn't look so good for me. It's all right. Who is our guest?
Who am I? Oh, okay. I'll let you go.
I'm going to tell you who you
Okay.
are.
Love it.
According to internet. So
Okay.
it must be 100% true and reliable. You started in Vietnam, then you moved to Thailand, and here you are. So this is... is it brief?
That's brief, and that sums it all up. Yeah.
Perfect. That's what I thought. First of all, Nicholas, are you filming in Thailand?
Right now, it's have been. I opened up my current company, Indochina Productions, in 2010. And in 2011, we absorbed an existing Thai company called Legend Films that had done Rambo 4 and Street Fighter. And because I originally, in 2010, had opened up just in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and realized, I knew before, but realized that Thailand is really the epicenter, not only for Southeast Asia, but for film production in Asia.
But in my mind, Legend is a Hollywood company.
No, that's Legendary.
Legendary.
There was a Thai company called Legend. That we absorbed.
Cover, yeah.
Yep. I'd originally come to Asia in 1994. I went to Columbia University in New York City. I thought that I was going to be a journalist. I came to Vietnam not knowing anyone, and then soon after I arrived, I realized I didn't like writing, which is hard to be a journalist.
Okay.
So at a bar, at the Q Bar, David Jacobson now has...
Q Bar in Vietnam.
In Vietnam, 1994. I was at the bar and I convinced the regional head of Ogilvy and Mather that I could produce, along with my new friend who is production managing a French film called Cyclo, the second movie of Tran Hung. And I convinced him that I could produce TV commercials. And we had 10 days and $30,000 to do 3 Pepsi Blue campaign. I thought I'd struck it rich then. But,
yeah, I'm sure.
yeah.
So you shot these TVCs in Vietnam.
Shot those in Vietnam. Back then, they had, it was still the remnants of the Soviet Empire, and we did processing and telecine in Thailand, in Vietnam, which we never did again after that. But
tell us why.
We produced it, and as the regional head of Ogilvy and Mather said, if the client liked it, he'd pay the second half, and if the client didn't like it, we wouldn't get our second 50. So I was 23 years old and laughed it off, but we got paid.
Okay.
And then that company went strong. It's now known as Sud-Est. It was initially Lazanek Vietnam. We had the first joint venture with the Ministry of Culture and a Hang Phim Zai Phong Liberation Film Studio. And we ended up both doing production service and local production. And I sold that company in the early 2000s and moved back to Los Angeles.
But what gave you the energy at that time to partner with the Vietnamese government, to pitch for TV commercial, to work with Pepsi? I mean,
I had a French partner, and anything in a French accent sounds good. So
c'est vrai.
Yeah, exactly. But you work on movies, So yeah, and I'd always, I had grown up in sort of a cinema paradisio in a small college town where my father taught in Beloit, Wisconsin, and I grew up without a TV, and I used to go to
because it didn't exist at that time, or
that's close, but no, it died when Nixon was resigning, and when the Saturn rocket was going to the moon. So they never bought a new one. So I grew up going to the college they had 3 days a week for $1 in sort of classic movies, and that's what I grew up on, and sort of. Drunk at a bar in Saigon, I figured out that I could start from the top down and produce.
But why did you start in Asia, in Vietnam, and not in Thailand? These are the two entry points.
Because I have a tendency to always make things more difficult for myself. But
saying that Thailand is easier than Vietnam?
Yes, yeah. Thailand, even then, had a much more established economy and culture. I mean, I was drawn. My father's a Hungarian immigrant. I grew up in Wisconsin, and the kids in my class who I closest identified with were the Vietnamese, when they came over in 1975, and so I was 5-6 years old. So and then they became close friends, and they ended up rising within a year to top of the class, and so I think that it's searching for my history, being half Hungarian. I think I identified a lot with Vietnam, and there's such a stigma and impression on Americans and American history and culture that I was drawn to Vietnam initially, and it was a real anomaly, and it was difficult, and I always like a challenge.
Excellent, yeah. Yes. So you mentioned that you had in your university this pass for 3 days a week of cinema, movie classics, screening, and is there in your memory one film that really strikes you and said, this is what I want to do?
I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking of it, but watching Apocalypse Now, I mean, watching, Marx Brothers movies, Buster Keaton movies, I'm, as you can see on IMDb, I just like to work with good people, and I love all genres. And this year it's really crazy because we have a reality TV show that I co-own that I produced that I never thought I was going to do. But working with good people and the talent, an opportunity.
You're referring to Dean Dynasty.
Yeah, exactly.
The first ever reality TV from Thailand being broadcasted.
Yeah, I think that I'll let you do those words. HBO has a different, I think this is the first reality show on HBO. But yeah, so it's, so I watch it. I watch everything, and I have things that I'm more drawn to, but it's really about working with good people.
Okay, so from Apocalypse Now to Dean Dynasty, it's a long way to go. I'm gonna book the studio for another 10 hours.
Exactly.
Okay, it's okay.
Yep.
We have green light.
For you, I have time.
Well, thank you. Nicolas, you have been working in and around Thailand for quite some time now. What is so specific about filming in Thailand?
I think that it's a combination of things, and first of all, I think they have more of a structure than the surrounding countries. I mean, the biggest competition, if you want to look at Asia as a center, whereas that it's Malaysia tried instituting and they have a film incentive, which is actually you can actually get more money back.
More money from Malaysia than from Thailand. But you have to import the crew from Thailand to Malaysia.
I'm now going to start speaking French, but
then it's going to be more romantic, as you said.
Yeah, no,
switch off the light.
Let's say
we can speak French. It's okay.
No. But let's just I'll concentrate first on Thailand. Thailand has amazing crew. The crew is getting deeper and deeper. The country has instituted a simplified authorization process, visa process, and also now a film incentive. There are improvements that we're hoping are instituted that further streamline all those processes and make Thailand that much more competitive. But I'd say the the film industry goes hand in hand with the hospitality industry, and Thailand having some of the best 5-star hotels and hospitality industry throughout the country makes it possible to shoot in a lot of locations. And there's a service mentality. We've pre-COVID, we opened up in Japan, and they're a country that has no service mentality. And also obstacles are all just the structure of their society make it very difficult to work. So we're doing a number of projects there, but it's the standards and practices are, let's say, more difficult.
I would have been impressed by the way Thailand is always coming first, because of its the problem that the neighboring countries are facing and have difficulty to overcome, and of course because of the quality of Thailand, the inner quality.
Yeah.
But it seems that the competitors are doing their best not to be as good as Thailand.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. Japan's just instituting a new film incentive. There's a younger generation that's rising up. So what we do when we shoot in Japan often, I mean, we have a project going on next month that will be 100% Japanese. We were involved in Tokyo Vice on the behind the scenes, but we're able to crew that out 100% from Thailand. But when we do other projects, so we do a number of TV commercials, and we just did recent ones for Google, for Google, Amazon, and Apple before, but another.
You're missing Facebook, and you have them all.
Exactly. It was one of the good. It's Expedia was the other one.
Oops.
Yeah, and then a different industry, but and when we were over there, we brought over Thai line producers. We often bring in Thai accountants and also the client servicing. And I'd say if you're shooting something Japan for Japan and for a Japanese client, you don't need to do this before. If you have to have the service mentality, Thailand, there's no place better than Thailand. I mean, our biggest competition isn't the region. It's South Africa. It used to be the Ukraine before the war. Now we have we just lost a big job to Warsaw. So Eastern Europe and South Africa and sometimes Mexico are our biggest competitors.
We'll talk about the competition in a moment.
And just one sec.
Sure,
that's for TV commercials.
That's for TV commercials.
For short form.
And for long form?
For long form, what's interesting, what's happening now is the studios are now seeing Thailand as a place not only to shoot, let's say Thailand for Thailand, Thailand for Vietnam. On the creator, we shot over 80% of the film here. We also shot in Nepal, Indonesia, Cambodia, and Japan.
But that's interesting. You mentioned the creator. We'll talk in the second part about the creator, because the creator could have been shot anywhere in the world. Yep. I mean, and it was shot in Thailand. So let's keep it for a bit later. There is a saying about Thailand. You say Thailand, land of smile. And I would like to make it Thailand, land of smile, filming, and frustration.
Honestly, I don't. I get frustrated shooting. I've shot in L.A., New York, Philadelphia. I think that good directors are always asking to make the impossible possible.
That's the job of a director,
and it's the job of the producer to manage that. And I find Thailand incredibly. I've made my home here now. And I find it very film friendly. I'd say forward thinking. It's with the changing governments and that structure. It's often hard to get policies implemented and improved, but they have been. The foreign after tax exemption was passed last year. There's talk, I believe it's been passed, but it hasn't been instituted in the royal decree of increasing the film incentive to 30%. But it's, honestly, I don't have any complaints here. I mean, it's home now. It's, the base of our business is here. We shot a big TV commercial in the Maldives, 40 Thai crew. Half of them flew over with us. Half of them flew business class because there aren't enough flights now. I mean, it was a real treat. I didn't even get to go, but people said it was a real treat. You know, we were shooting in Japan, Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia. We have an upcoming job in Sri Lanka, and there's normally a decent Thai component to it. And just, you know, we want to work with good people, and Thailand has just had the sort of the history since Deer Hunter to, you know, that's built up crews. And I'll give a shout out to Santa, that's who has started his first major film production service company called Santa Films. And if you look at the difference between the way the Philippines, that had actually more films in the 70s and 80s, developed, and the way that the film industry for international production service developed, and I give it credit mainly to Santa, is that he pinpointed that you had to have a whole new crew. It wasn't about turning the very good Thai crew, who, but it was about training up people from the hospitality industry.
Okay.
Who then, and over, you know, now that was 1970s, 1980s, and a lot of people were, you know, my first partner, Pierre, she worked in a hotel and then saw it was a lot more fun in film production. She jumped over and worked there. And meanwhile, the Philippines, what they did is they brought in people who had worked in the Filipino industry and then just placed them on Hollywood projects. But the problem is that the standards and practices are totally different.
In the Philippines.
In local, even in like local Thai. And so by concentrating on training people up from the hospitality or straight out of college,
you could
start these people who understood the standards and practices and what a Hollywood movie really did. And you know, now, you know, there's another company that's taking care of Aliens. I think that they're shooting the full season of it.
Yeah, Chris Lowenstein was with us a few episodes ago, and he told us many behind the scenes. So I'm expecting you to tell me many behind the scenes about the creator.
Okay.
When we come back in a minute. But before that, let's play a game. It's called the Top 5. 5 seconds per questions. It's very fast. If it's too fast, you just hit the buzzer over there. So 5 favorite places to film.
5 favorite places to film. First of all, Thailand. Second of all, I mean, we shoot all over the place. Thailand, because it's easy. We always love coming back. I'm using more than 5 seconds. Japan, because it's crazy and unpredictable. Bangladesh, because it's like shooting on the moon and you never know what's coming next. Vietnam, because it reads so well on the camera. And Maldives, because I want to go.
Yeah, that's a good reason. If we could have a special episode of filming in Thailand and Maldives, you know, on location, I'm up for it. 5 favorite actors.
Oh,
maybe those you've been working with.
It's acting. There was a long time ago I thought of becoming one. I admire them all because they're putting themselves on the line, and who knows, they could be too short, too fat, the accent's wrong, or this, and they're being...
Enough about me. Let's talk about your favorite actor.
Okay, sorry. I did a small movie called A Prayer for Dawn that I produced with James Seamus. It was originally supposed to be Charlie Hunnam in the lead. Financing fell out. He fell out, various reasons. Ended up getting Joe Cole, and less than a third or a fourth of the budget with him. He was a perfect guy for an amazing actor and through himself, and he became that part. Watching Robert Downey Jr. Work on The Sympathizer, where he plays multiple characters, sort of similar to Dr. Strangelove, to see him interacting with director Park, who's done Oldboy. That was brilliant. Allison Janney, Academy Award winner from I, Tonya. It was, and Ken
fantastic film.
And Ken Watanabe were both on The Creator. John David Washington was just, and not only on camera, literally I'm going to cry, but the way he worked with the crew and just threw himself into the production and into Thailand, and working with the director was, second to none.
5 favorite directors. Oh, we'll have a break after.
No. I'm going 5 favorite directors. Often, either the favorite or least favorite, the person we just worked with.
Okay.
I'd say Director Park from The Sympathizer. He saw something in that book, in that project, that I didn't see, and he has such a clear vision and clear tone, and he's phenomenal. Again, I'll go back to Prayer Before Dawn. For me, the project so easily could have been a cliche, and Jean-Stéphane, the director, and he also had previously done a movie called Johnny Mad Dog, and then had a movie this year at Cannes called Black Flies. Mm-hmm. We keep looking for another project to do together, and he saw something in that I didn't see, and he's told me is for almost no money that we had in the budget, I was able to, and our crew was able to provide him with everything that he needed. And so it's, that all of those people were really, really special to work with.
5 of your most.
And I have to put Gareth in there too. I just saw The Creator for the first time. I've seen snippets here and there. And again, there was 2+ hours of going into a mind of a real visionary. And, I'll tell you more about it later, but we were on this on the project from its sort of nascent stages all the way through, and to see what he pulled off was just incredible.
It's incredible. 5 of your most iconic production. I think you gave us one already.
I'll do The Creator, for multiple reasons. The Sympathizer, we have an upcoming one, season 3 of The White Lotus, and that's all I'll say about it. But already that's been a journey. So that's 3. A Prayer Before Dawn. I'll put A Prayer Before Dawn is so special that takes number 4 and 5.
Number 4 and 5. Yeah. So guys, you have to watch the Prayer Before Dawn, that's for sure. And your 5 most hated questions?
Bring them on.
Okay, work on that.
You are listening to Filming in Thailand, a podcast by Tero Documentary, with your host, Stéphane Lambert.
Is there a project, a film, a TVC, a series that was, a game changer for you?
I think that it's...
That's Fiat with her mobile.
Okay.
Again, she forgot to switch off today.
First rule in production. No problem. I know for myself and for my company, I have 3 different companies. For my companies...
So you have Indochina?
Indochina Productions, Studio Muso in Japan, and we're soon to announce an amazing project that we're production company, and I'll be a producer on an English language adaptation of a well-known Japanese IP. And then the third company, 247 Pictures, that
Patrick
co-own with Patrick Carr.
That was in a previous episode of Filming Thailand.
And so each one's doing different things. I find it really interesting with 247 Pictures is because we were actually, we are fortunate, but also very strategic, is that we own our IP.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
And we're able to work with the streamers in a way where we retain the rights. And
so you're not acting only as an executive producer, as a production service company, but now you're generating your own IP.
Yes, and that's what Studio Muso in Japan is set up with. We're in-house producers for 2 of the largest manga companies. I have 2 partners. One, Harry Tanaka, who is on the board of directors of Studio Ghibli, and before that, he was 15 years of various GM positions for Disney Japan. Then I have another super talented partner who's well-versed in production. And then our fourth partner, Tomo, has he's more from the business side, and he's built up .coms. So we're doing a number of interesting things. We consulted for Amazon Studios. We're in-house, as I mentioned, to 2 manga companies. We've developing original IP, and then 247 Pictures. That's what its mandate is too. Indochina started as production service only. Now we're in 14 different countries. We call them territories because we see Bali and Westerners see Bali and Indonesia as two
I need to
different
avoid
places.
some politically
Exactly.
concern. Political
Yeah.
concern.
But we do probably about 40 to 50% of our work in Thailand, then Japan, Vietnam, Cambodia are really popular. We're pushing for Malaysia to increase, and then we do the odd projects in Nepal and Bangladesh.
So what was it? Why are you moving into IP? IP?
It's sort of just
Owning your own IP.
and the question before that
Sure.
I didn't answer too.
That's
which
okay.
is,
I'm used to that.
it's just a really interesting time. I think with the explosion, and now the retraction of the streamers and the studios, and there's somewhat of a consolidation. There's probably going to be further market consolidation. But what I've found, and where Studio Muso came up, and even now Indochina owns or is attached to a couple different projects, is that studios, unfortunately, the thing that suffered the most in this rapid expansion, or really never existed in Southeast Asia, was on a studio level, was development.
That's the weak point of
It's a weak
the area.
And now it's also becoming, I really see it as it's becoming the weak point in the consolidation, and also the rapid rise of a lot of streamers.
It doesn't make sense for a shareholder or development. It doesn't bring anything.
And it takes time, and they need content immediately. And so seeing that opportunity in the market is where we've expanded. And it's also during COVID, I started during COVID, I started both Studio Muso and then also 247 Pictures, because I knew coming out of it, production service will never be the same. And it's not. Mm-hmm. On the short form things, people are, it's harder to get them to travel halfway around the world as it was pre-COVID. It's also with the ever-impending recession, is people are more cost-conscious, and with flights now, business class being $8,000, $10,000, that's double the price of what it used to be.
Sure.
All those things add up. So I saw a hole in the market. I saw I'd had plans, but having started business in Vietnam, worked on the communist 5-year plan, I thought it was going to take 5 years. It's actually, we're in the midst of it now, and it balances out our portfolio. We've been able to adapt in a better way to the half of our to this strikes, of which WGA is just resolved, but SAG is still ever going.
So you're referring to the strikes
in the States,
going on in the States,
and it's decimated our long form business.
Really?
For production service, nothing's happening.
Because suddenly you don't have production coming in.
Yeah.
To clarify, they are basically asking for better remuneration and more recognition for the creative work.
That, and AI is also tie in the creator there too, but AI is very big, both for SAG and also for WGA, and how the studios and streamers are going to deal with it. I think that I haven't read the final contract for WGA, but I know that it was addressed, and that it's not going to be allowed just to feed things into ChatGPT and replace writers. And then for actors, the big thing is and it's already happened somewhat in various productions, where you hire an extra, you scan their image, and then you use it multiple times.
This is happening already?
Yeah.
With no legal framework around that? Interesting.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what was, if there is any, the project that was a game changer for you? Not only on the business front, but also for your own self, where suddenly you say, okay, now I'm within this industry, or you looked around, you say, wow, I'm living the dream, or the person in front of you is a big name.
So there've been, I'd say almost every project that we've done, or I've been involved with. Kong Skull Island, we shot 6 weeks, first unit, with, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Sam Jackson, John C. O'Reilly,
That was in which island?
No, there was in, we shot in Ninh Binh, south of Hanoi, Halong Bay, and then also Phung Nga Ke Binh, which is north of Da Nang, at the world's largest cave complex. And so we shot 6 weeks. So that, when I was doing that, that was the biggest thing. Right afterwards, I did A Prayer Before Dawn for a below $2 million movie.
Yeah, that's a big gap.
Our budget was not even the craft service budget on Kong, and I came back and we shot that out, and then to go to premiere in LA for Kong at Grauman's Chinese Theater, or it was at the Dolby where they do the Oscars, and then and then to go to Cannes and have red carpet, and we had a 10-15 minute standing ovation at the Palais
for A Prayer Before Dawn. Yes,
for me, both those things, I was on a super high, and that was phenomenal. But then they come back, and we did some TV commercials that for me blew us out of the water, and 2 of them were with Adam Berg. One was for DHL, and another tying in with James Bond, and then another one for Uber before Grab bought it out. And to work with him and to see, like, again, I love working with directors who surprise me, and you give them everything, and then they take it way beyond your expectations. And he did that with both of those TV commercials. And but I'd say right now I'm riding the high of The Creator, and I think that is something we've been involved with since I believe 2017, and to see it.
So almost 6 years.
Yeah, and it was just. I don't think it was even a full script then. It was just an idea in Gareth's mind. He came out with Jim Spencer, his producer, and for less than most TV commercials, they put together a trailer, and we traveled through Vietnam. And he actually is good friends with Jordan, who directed Kong Skull Island, which is how Gareth got the bug and all that stuff of Asia. And and to see it grow, and on a technological side, there's some articles floating around the internet, but what he was able to do, knowing VFX and knowing cameras, and working with Greg Fraser, Academy Award winning DP, we shot on prosumer cameras. Granted, the lenses are the cinematic and very expensive lenses, but you can go out and buy the camera for $4,000.
You were talking about The Creator.
Mm-hmm.
So The Creator is this fantastic sci-fi movie, taking place in a world where humans have decided that AI was not so good. Finally, that there was some issues. I'm not going to spoil anything, but basically, America is refighting its own war in Asia, because you have the good guys and the bad guys. I don't say more. That's for. It's been said that The Creator brings something new to the filming in Thailand scene. One, this film could have been produced anywhere in the world, executive produced anywhere in the world, and it was produced in Thailand. So this is something I want to know from you. How did you pull this up? And second is it opens the door to a new way to see the production service industry in Thailand. That is not only because you have a nice exterior or a great crew, but you can shoot in Thailand the way you could shoot around London or in Los Angeles or anywhere in the world. So first, you had competition for The Creator. How did you convince people that the place of shooting should be here in Thailand mainly?
I mean, for me, the way that we go about it, and one reason we structured Indochina and being in so many different territories is, in the end, it's the director's choice and the studio's choice where they want to go. And there have been projects that I absolutely love, and either they went to another company or they went to another country. Mm-hmm. And so having, meeting Gareth in the beginning, meeting Jim, the producer, and New Regency as a studio, we work have worked with quite a few times, and there are projects that were supposed to come and never came. And it was sort of, it's a dating game, but then it's also, when they come, they say jump and we say how high, and it's really about, Gareth, where did he traveled over 6 weeks or 8 weeks, traveled from Nepal to Cambodia to Vietnam, and we supported him in each place with different people. And, my hope was he's going to choose us and some of the countries we work in, and it worked out, because of COVID, Vietnam was knocked out. We shut the whole thing during COVID, which was a challenge in and of itself, and a huge bite out of the budget. But we were able to still do a Thailand-based production for around 16 weeks, to do about a week in Cambodia, a week in Indonesia, and a week in Nepal, and then a couple of days in Japan. And there were Thai crew who traveled with him to all of those
as a
locations.
first unit.
As first unit, yeah. And we had John David, the main actor, traveled to all of those locations too. And then they went to, they shot, I believe, 3 weeks or so on the stage in the UK, which I did try to pull here, but it's ILM and they have their own stage and everything, and it's just easier to do it in the UK. But it's, the stars, let's say the stars aligned on that.
The suppliers are Thai. Mm-hmm. There are not so many joint venture with foreign studios or foreign companies investing in Thailand and joining for, having their own set, their own equipment, their own team. You have your companies, you have local Thai companies, but I don't see, maybe there are, and I don't know, foreign studios, foreign companies, investing in Thailand, saying, oh, there is so much business going on, let's get a share.
I think COVID and post-COVID, from the creator, Aliens will do it. If White Lotus ends up shooting here, White Lotus will definitely have an effect. Studios are, in the end, conservative corporations. And at the moment, it's also the film incentive is attractive, but it's not truly competitive. Mm-hmm. And it has a cap, which can be problematic for larger budget projects.
What's the cap today?
What is it?
Because I know there is a minimum.
Minimums right now. It's 20%, and I believe it's $2
million. I think
the floor. You have to spend 50 million Thai baht, and the maximum you can get back, I believe, is 150.
Okay.
And they do allow on TV series to break it up, but the way that you break it up is not simple and not easy and straightforward.
How surprising.
Yeah. So I understand, their worries about having enough budget to attract it, but if they lifted the cap, and if they also increase it to 30%, it's only going to make foreign investment that much more attractive. There's some deals with major Hollywood players on the infrastructure side that we've been involved in talks with. All I can say is there's interest, but I think that it hasn't yet gone over the threshold.
But there is interest. We can imagine that within 5-10 years, there will be more ventures in this field.
I know I'm here. There's a new license that I'm getting that will make that a lot more attractive. It's the other thing that plays. They're very attractive things for the EEC, the Eastern Economic Corridor. But unfortunately, that's outside of the Bangkok zone where all the crew is and stuff. So, I think that you're going to...
And there are no studios there.
And why would you build it if you have to house the crew, which is one of the biggest problems in former Pinewood, now Iskandar studio in Malaysia. So, but I would not be surprised in the next 2 to 3 years if a lot's happening. It's also, something that would help the industry a lot here. And you can look, Malaysia's actually done it, and Australia has done it so well, which is you divide or you make it so that post-production, you can qualify for the incentive without production and post only. And if they had post only here, that would help a lot with volume stages and various post-production, computer graphics.
Because today post-production is not included in this scheme by itself.
There's a company, Base FX, that does a lot of work for ILM and Lucasfilms. I believe they have 1,000 or 2,000 employees in KL. And from my understanding, they set up to take advantage of the Malaysian film incentive.
Of course. I mean, it makes sense. From a remote location, you look at the financial side first.
Exactly.
Probably. The Creator. So was shot for 3 weeks in Thailand?
16.
16 weeks.
Yeah.
The Creator was shot for 16 weeks in Thailand. What was your job there? Your daily routine?
I'm the co-producer on it. Different projects I operate in different ways, but on our service work, what I've really seen, and when I first established the company, is that I knew that the only way to grow was to help build up crew, and so now. And most of them are all freelancers, but there's a woman on the Creator, a woman on the Meg, both Thai women who are line producers. So they were there on day to day, because I'm like
a key person.
For me, I'm a decent line producer. I'm not a great line producer.
Can you name them?
There's P. Bird was on the Meg. She also did Pegwood and Bloom. And a number of, she was a production manager on A Prayer Before Dawn. Now she's the Thai creative producer on White Lotus. And then P. Pam, we started with her on the long format on Aero Unit in Bangladesh for Avengers.
So you sent her to Bangladesh?
Yeah.
And she's coming back?
And she came back. And it was a crazy experience. And then from that, she came to Vietnam and was the Asian production manager for Kong Skull Island. And then she's now line produced The Creator. She was working on Michael Mann's Way 1968 that was going to shoot. There was Band of Brothers set in Vietnam.
Okay.
But that unfortunately fell apart. And then she did Extraction, and then The Creator, and so
what was your job on The Creator? Your own job, yourself, not the company.
So I'm credited as a co-producer. What I really see my job is setting things up so that they have each production has the right team on it, and Jim and Pam, and then Lek, and all these Thai crew were interviewed in the Thai press, and the wardrobe. Actually, the wardrobe designer. We had a Thai production designer, wardrobe designer, prop master, and also supervising location manager. All Thais, all who oversaw all the Asian things, and they were credited. They were their heads of department, working directly with.
And sometimes they act as extra also in the film. I recognize some faces.
Yeah, but these guys were too busy. I don't think they ever jumped in there. But so we really structure it where each production is sort of independent. I float between the different productions, but I'm there very heavily during prep. Making sure that things are crewed up properly, the government relations, and there were a lot of issues on The Creator. Shooting during COVID, we shot in, I believe it was 17 provinces in the end, and a lot of those
17 provinces in Thailand.
Yeah, and a lot of those had never had film production, let alone film production during COVID. So there was a lot of back channeling and a lot of, I have to say in the end, the government and a lot of the ministers were incredibly supportive, which is something that plays into, Thailand growing. There's one of the few places that did so many productions during COVID. They had Shantaram, Miss Marvel, Greatest Beer Run.
They're all coming to basically 2 or 3 companies, yours being one of them.
Yeah, I'd say there's us, Living Films, there's Peston Films, Santa's 2 sons run that. They did Five Bloods, they did Fast and Furious, and they did the Thai Cave Rescue. And then there's also Thai Occidental that did Shantaram. So I think there are over 200 licensed entities and individuals. But
I think even more than that.
Yeah, but there are, I'd say, half a dozen to a dozen companies that on varying degrees. There are other companies like Top Productions that do more French productions and things. So.
Back to France again.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a French movie coming out next year too.
Really?
Yeah.
So no one's listening. What is it about?
La promesse verte.
Yeah. The green promise.
Yes, and it's a story set in Indonesia. It's about I believe it's about the logging industry, illegal logging.
Okay, taking place in Indonesia, shooting in Thailand.
Exactly.
Joel Silver said, "The producer is the ultimate multitasker in filmmaking." Do you agree? I guess.
We know a little bit about a lot of things.
A little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So because you're the boss.
Yeah.
So you're looking for people who know a lot about subjects?
You
a lot about a lot.
you surround yourself with people who know a lot more about each individual thing, and and are passionate about that.
And you're recruiting?
Always. Never stop.
It's an open call.
Yeah.
Part 3? You're still alive?
Yes, here.
Okay.
You are listening to Filming in Thailand, a podcast by Tero Documentary, with your host, Stéphane Lambert.
Behind every successful film, there is a producer who believed in the project when no one else did. Attributed to Christopher Nolan. Do you agree?
Yes, and I think on the production service side, we're not so involved in sort of the nascent stage and the birth of...
But you mentioned a few times that now you are on the creative side, you are, giving birth to project, owning the IP.
Exactly. So, and then there are projects like A Prayer Before Dawn that came as a service job, but for various reasons, I ended up becoming on-the-ground creative producer. So, there's never one way that it all happens, but I'd say yes, especially for, if you are a creative producer, that's.
Creative producer. I guess you're encountering some interesting challenges when you are a creative producer and you have to work with a director with his own vision. So unless, I guess, you're a partner, strong partner with the director, how do you balance the fact that you are delivering a service and also having a say in the creative process? Because you have to manage a lot of egos.
Yeah, but it's, I've found the,
can be a headache, I guess, or not.
I'm privileged having worked with Michael Mann, who is, just Google and Michael Mann problems directing or difficult director, but it's he also it's what I talked about like seeing the creator, you're inside Gareth's head and you're like, oh my God, we pushed our crew and pushed the limits of the budget, but wow, he delivered. And for me, I see it as my job not to say no, not to bitch about the budget, but really go to have a creative collaboration with the director and go, okay, what's important? What are your priorities? It's sad to spend a week on something that, it's only going to 30% chance that it's going to make the movie. So why don't we make the choice now? What's actually going to make make the film, and
that would be your input.
In one circumstance, that might be the input.
But I guess it depends also on the director you're working with.
It depends on the director, it depends on the project, and how you're going. And there are directors, and it's situations where I'm much more hands off. There are other ones that are more hands on, and it's so you figure it out every time.
Have you ever had to deal with the ego's problem, like that could have completely jeopardized the production?
Wow, definitely. I won't tell you the films, but often the biggest egos are on the smallest films that end up going nowhere.
Can you share with us the first, 5 to 10 words of the title?
No.
Without no?
I'm not going. Not going to. But no, I'd say it's.
But maybe not in a bad way, because dealing with ego's problem can be part of the creative process, and you have to balance what is real ego and is not creative, and what is ego because there is a creative issue behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I find it sad when people's egos get in the way and either kill projects or kill the chance of the project being successful. It's I've been on a producer on a movie where within it's always financed. Almost always, especially for young directors, financed off of the talent, and I could see, the director in the circumstance losing the talent in the first days, and once you lose them, you're not going to get a cut back, and it was sad, and maybe I wasn't right in the way that I. Sort of delivered the news or tried to spur the director on, but it's
so the project.
I'm not going to say anymore.
I tried. Let's talk a bit more about the IP that you're involved now. Mm-hmm. There is a common answer from streamers, from big players saying, you're in Thailand, so we want IP from Thailand with a Thai director, a Thai writer, a Thai cast, and Thai language. So this does not apply to you?
It's interestingly enough. So I'd say during COVID, I mentioned about Studio Muso already. We're doing two things there. One is taking Japanese language and bringing it to the world. So English language, mainly live action adaptations. Mm-hmm. There are also a couple projects that are Japanese language that we have. Then in Thailand, or through 247 Pictures is both Thai language for the local market, but then it's also some things what we're looking for there is things that can platform more internationally, whether through reselling the concept or...
From your desk in the US. This would be something, some project, some stuff you are proposing from the desk that you have in the US.
No.
Or it doesn't matter?
Propose it off of Sukhumvit. That's where it all comes from. But then, so in
Sukhumvit being a famous street in Bangkok.
Exactly. With Indochina, there are a couple of properties that I own or I'm attached to. That, let's say, the stories are there's all English language. The stories are Asian based, and just from people I know and things. There's a Lawrence Osborne property, Water of Life, the regional script that I commissioned. Mm-hmm. It's set in Japan. It's a sideways, it's in Lost in Translation, set around whiskey. But then it's recently, I had some agencies in the States contact me about directors that they represent here and asking for my possible help in producing English language projects for them here. And then recently also some interesting Thai language properties, narrative, scripted, have come my way. I think that the question is if I'm going to, I find it, a lot of the projects really interesting, but the streamers model isn't interesting to produce something for $1.5 million, $2 million, and which will take 2 to 3 years of your life, and then not to own any IP, and the fees that you get off of that are, I mean, if it was the only thing I was doing or something, or a different stage of my career, it might be interesting, but it's not. So I'm looking for projects where I can own part of the IP, where they might end up on the streamers in various different ways, a later acquisition, but there's also a theatrical window. Each project has different ways to set it up.
Before we talk about where the industry is going and what's coming next, I have this funny question, and you can use the buzzer if you want to answer. How someone becomes you?
I don't think anyone wants to become me. But
are you sleeping at night?
No, so I would, if you don't mind, I'd rephrase it and
please.
I'd say, how do you become, like, how do you find yourself? And so all I've done is find myself in what I like to do. I'm living my dream, my passion. There was a time back in college that I tried acting. I was in an improv group in New York and had a lot of fun, but then also realized, oh my God, I can't, I don't love it being, in LA going to auditions. I realized I want to sit on the other side deciding I can't be putting myself out for rejection so much. And I wasn't strong enough.
Working in a restaurant as a waiter was not for you. Here we have a special machine called the time traveling machine. Uh-huh. So I'm going to bring you back in time. Then you were starting to mention about earlier time. We are going to travel back to your 20s. Mm-hmm. And I'd like you to share with us what you think you would tell yourself when you were 20 years old.
This is the time traveling machine.
It's interesting you say that. So I never had a mentor. And I think that if I was able to go back, it would be nice to position yourself in a sort of mentor place. And where the biggest mistakes that I've made have been when I rushed and when I got too emotional. And there are probably half a dozen to a dozen times, and it's either ruined relationships or ruined friendships. And if I was able to take a breath, and not be emotional.
Why do you think you went?
Is this a therapy session or a podcast?
Please. Well, anyway, for both. We charge you at the end. So.
Okay.
So why do you think you got emotional, or you were in a hurry?
It's...
And that's actually a therapy session.
Okay, yeah. No, why did I get emotional? Because it's...
maybe stress, lack of money.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the buzzer now. No,
please do.
I think that it's because I put myself in positions sometimes where I didn't have the experience and the background to really just be able... And that's where not having a mentor who I could call and stuff, and sometimes... I was surrounded by people who amped up the rhetoric and that's terrible. Instead of going, hey, just take a step back, make the call in 2 days. It's not going to change anything now.
So you didn't know at that time. I mean, you rushed into conclusion.
And then I shot myself in the foot a couple times.
You can use the buzzer.
It's not. And now I start crying. Kleenex.
Please, tissue for the gentleman. Is there a future in production services in Thailand?
I mean, it is a really good question. It's something that I think that we're tracking. Is location shooting going to go, or filming going to go the same way that sort of shooting on film? It's like that only a couple auteurs can demand and get. I feel in the next couple of years, from what I've seen and what I've heard, is location filming is. I mean, but location filming will still be prevalent. The quality of the of what you're getting off of virtual stages is, and it hasn't gotten to that tipping point yet where it's so much cheaper shooting on a volume stage. You still need to build 3D assets. You still need to, and that also has to be in your production pipeline. But down the road, I actually see, where it also depends on who's your end user. But the technology, it's happening, and I think that it's actually going to probably affect local and regional markets before big international. Just because, imagine if you went on a volume stage, okay, it doesn't look great, but you know what? You can make a Thai TV commercial then, and then put Paris in the background. You can already do it on green screen, and
then it devalue all the there is no more production value. If everything is possible, people don't believe what they see. People don't believe what they create. But my worst nightmare would be, computers auto-generating content, creative content.
But look where the metaverse went. Facebook has lost a lot of money, or Meta has lost. Is it Meta?
Yes.
Yeah, that has lost a huge amount of money with their Mark Zuckerberg's bet on everyone wanting to be in the metaverse. And what people actually, COVID was another thing. Do we all want to live isolated and stuff? So I think that it's going to be, things are definitely changing on a very rapid basis. I think with, AI, from what I'm hearing in TV commercials and, face replacement and all of that. Just imagine you come to Thailand, you shoot, you have 6 countries that you need to do a carbonated beverage thing for.
Sure.
You shoot it once and then you change everyone out.
Absolutely.
And that's, so that's, possibly where it's going to go. So, the technological change is happening. I'm just trying to ride the wave.
We can imagine that there would be some mention shot with humans.
Maybe.
Or created out of a human brain.
Yeah.
Is it a risk or a challenge for your own business model? Is there a strategy around that?
I wouldn't go out and build up a traditional, start hiring 300 people for a traditional production service company. We've always had a very lean model with very few permanent employees and really relying on freelancers. But I'm still in the business. It's changing. It's just going to be interested, and I think no one can predict how it's going to change.
If you had to choose few films for people to watch and understand Thailand better or Southeast Asia better, what film would you recommend? You mentioned Apocalypse Now. You mentioned
from my own, the ones please go see The Creator. Go see of how you can have an Asian-based temple, and as opposed to going to Iceland or something. Watch A Prayer Before Dawn. For me, there's a movie that really have the director's vision, and when a director knows what to put it up on screen, especially if it's all live action, there are ways to really produce it and not have to spend a huge sum of money. For me, American Apocalypse Now is phenomenal. I think that and I was working with Oliver Stone on a project that didn't go through, but Platoon is, and here's a young director who didn't get enough money, and the stories behind how that was made was phenomenal. And it's, I think it's a very, you look at the script and the story, and it's very classical. It could be, set in terms of Greek or Roman Empire or something, and but beautifully done. How good was Eric Matisse on the job? a Filipino film.
I don't know this one.
Yeah, it's where they hire contract killers who are actually in prison, and then they get out of prison to go kill people. I think there's, what's the movie that XYZ did? The Raid, an Indonesian film that really sort of broke out internationally. I think they're fun. What's the Ladyboy volleyball team in Thailand?
Ah, yes. Oh, that's
that's
some time ago.
Yeah, some time ago. But I think that there is like something like that should be revisited too. And so that's where I'm going all over on the genres.
So we have the film that you recommend for people to watch and understand a bit better. And that's interesting that we started mentioning Apocalypse Now, and we end up mentioning The Creator, both portraying the American fighting Asia for a cause. We leave people deciding what they have to think about it, or this is another discussion. And Fiat will bring you the award for best guest ever for this episode of Filming in Thailand.
I feel honored.
You can. This is actually the official mug from Terreau Documentary. Terreau Documentary is one of our official sponsor and supporter. I created Terreau Documentary.
Okay,
so
fantastic.
we had a way to get them as a sponsor.
Okay.
And that concludes this episode of Filming in Thailand. The show is available on YouTube, Hoodie Podcast, and on all the leading podcast platforms. More detail together with transcript and links to the film, the many films you mentioned, you referred to, at www.filmingintthailand.com.
Okay, people, fantastic. That's a wrap.
It's been a thrill to have you with us today.
Perfect. It's been a pleasure.
See you on screen soon.
Great. See you.
And it's time for me to say, et voilà.
That was Filming in Thailand, an original podcast brought to you by Terreau Documentary on Hoodie Podcast, with your host,
Stéphane Lambert. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode of Filming in Thailand.
That's a wrap.
Okay, hold on 1 second. It did not record. We have to start. We make it shorter, but we have to start again from scratch.
And ha ha ha.